Ever think about a career like where you're not chasing fires, but actually stopping them before they even happen?
Oh, absolutely.
That's what we're going to look at today.
Yeah.
Fire prevention and protection engineering. We're diving deep with RoleCatcher
Love it.
to see what it takes to do this for a living beyond,
Beyond the flashing lights.
yeah, beyond the cool trucks, beyond all that.
It is fascinating, though. What I find really captivating about this field is it's not just about the extinguishing flames, right?
Right.
It's understanding them.
Yeah.
It's getting down to the science of how fires ignite, how buildings can actually be designed to contain them,
Yeah.
even how materials, like the clothes that we're wearing,
Interesting.
can actually minimize risk. So it's this blend of science engineering and a little bit of detective work, I think.
They're almost like deciphering the secrets of fire to
Yeah,
keep us all safe.
very much so.
And the RoleCatcher guide, they always do such a good job of kind of painting a picture of what a day on the job is like.
Right.
And for fire prevention and protection engineers, they say it's anything but ordinary. One day you're in the office, the next day you might be in a lab running tests and stuff.
Totally.
Or even on site, like think construction zones.
Yeah, absolutely. And you hit on such a key point here. It's highly collaborative.
Yeah.
Because think about it. You are that specialist when it comes to safety, fire safety. So you're going to work with architects to make sure buildings are designed with that in mind.
Yeah.
You collaborate with other engineers on those fire suppression systems.
Right.
And even consult with manufacturers who are making, fire-resistant materials.
It's like you're the conductor of this orchestra, and you got to make sure everybody's in sync.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that you're creating that safe, harmonious...
Safe environment, yeah.
Yeah.
But it can't all be blueprints and brainstorming, right?
Right.
I mean, what does RoleCatcher say about the hard parts of this job? Because there's always hard parts.
For sure. I mean, the guide definitely talks about, the demanding nature. It can be long hours, high-stress situations.
Right.
And you might even find yourself in a hazardous environment. So
Yeah.
not for the faint of heart. You got to have that resilience
Right.
and a real genuine passion for safety.
I can see that. Because that's a lot of responsibility on your shoulders.
It is.
The safety of other people.
It is.
But on the flip side, the guide also talks about the immense satisfaction that people get in this career.
Oh, 100%.
So can you speak to that a bit?
Yeah, because, just imagine that feeling, that sense of accomplishment, knowing that your designs, your expertise,
Wow.
it's actually impacting public safety.
Yeah.
You're potentially saving lives.
Right.
That's the kind of reward that goes beyond a paycheck, right?
Yeah.
You're making a difference.
That's huge.
It is. And speaking of paychecks, though,
Okay.
RoleCatcher does mention that because these skills are in such high demand,
Yeah.
it often translates to some pretty competitive salaries
Nice.
and really promising career growth.
So there's a lot of opportunity there.
There is.
That's good to know. All right, so let's talk about these skills then, because it seems like it takes a special kind of person to, be that fire safety guru.
Right.
So what does RoleCatcher say are kind of the must-haves to be successful?
So they really break it down into two areas. We've got hard skills and we've got soft skills.
Okay.
On the more technical side, you're going to need a very solid understanding of fire science.
Okay.
So that's analyzing how fires behave, how they spread, how you can control them.
Right.
And then you've got to be well-versed in like all the engineering principles, building codes, fire protection, regulation. Oh, and let's not forget the design and analysis of fire detection and suppression systems.
Wow. So you really do have to have a very good understanding of the science behind it.
It's not just knowing where to put the fire extinguisher.
Exactly.
It's a whole lot more.
Wow. Okay, so that's a lot of technical stuff.
It is. But
It's not just that, right?
it's not just being that technical whiz. That's where those soft skills come in. Because RoleCatcher stresses this. You've got to be a clear communicator. You've got to be able to explain these really complex concepts, maybe to clients, maybe to architects, construction crews, a lot of different audiences.
Okay, that makes sense.
And your problem-solving skills, those have to be top-notch.
All right.
Because on the job, you're going to encounter, guarantee, unexpected challenges.
Yeah, I bet.
And we can't forget attention to detail.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because even a small oversight in this field,
Yeah,
it can have huge consequences.
big time. You don't want to mess around with that. So
Yeah.
you have to be, I don't know, it's like part detective, part engineer.
And a little bit of therapist maybe
Yes.
there too.
Oh my gosh, exactly, right.
Because you're dealing with people or personalities. And
Yes, a little bit of diplomat, I was going to say. Yeah, for
Ooch.
sure. So I'm curious, thinking about all these skills, what what stands out to you?
Oh, that's a good question.
What are your strengths? And then maybe on the flip side, what are things that, maybe you'd have to develop a bit further?
That's a great point, and I think as you go through this deep dive with us,
Yeah.
it's a really good thing to reflect on.
Yeah.
Which of these skills that we're talking about come naturally,
Yeah.
and which ones maybe, need to be honed a little bit.
Right.
Because remember, it's not always about just fitting into a job description.
It's about finding the right fit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Finding something that aligns with your strengths, with your passions.
Love that. All right. So now that we know what we need to bring to the table, how do we get there?
That's a great question, and that's actually what we're going to talk about after a quick break.
Okay. Sounds good. We'll be right back. So we know this job needs a special mix of technical skills and people skills. But what does that actually mean in terms of education, and experience? How do you even start down this road of becoming a fire protection and prevention engineer?
That's where it all begins, right?
Yeah,
The journey.
right.
RoleCatcher says a good foundation in STEM is key, which makes sense.
Yeah,
I mean, don't think about it. You're doing these complex calculations,
yeah,
analyzing blueprints,
right,
understanding how those fire suppression systems work.
right.
So a bachelor's degree in fire protection engineering or fire science is usually the standard. But there are other related fields that could also give you a really strong start too.
Okay, so what else could you do?
So think mechanical engineering, chemical engineering,
Oh, okay.
even civil engineering.
Interesting. Okay, so it seems like there are a lot of different ways you could go with this, especially if you love science and problem solving.
Exactly.
Okay, but so let's say you've got that degree.
Oh,
You're ready to go.
yeah.
Do you just jump right into designing fire safety systems for big skyscrapers?
Well, not so fast. I mean, a bachelor's degree, that's going to get your foot in the door.
Right.
But to get those really advanced roles,
Yeah.
a lot of employers are going to want to see a master's degree
Okay.
or even a professional engineering license.
Oh, wow. Okay, so it's kind of like you're leveling up your expertise.
Exactly. And speaking of leveling up, RoleCatcher really emphasizes how important certifications are.
Okay, so tell me more about that.
These are I think of them kind of like badges of honor
Okay.
that show you've gone the extra mile, right?
Yeah.
You've mastered a certain part of this field.
Yeah, you're not just messing around, you really know your stuff.
You really know your stuff. Exactly.
Well, okay, so what kind of certifications are we talking about here?
There's a bunch of them, actually,
Mm-hmm.
and they can really give your credibility a boost. RoleCatcher actually mentions a few specifically, like the Certified Fire Protection Specialist, the Certified Fire and Explosion Investigator.
Whoa. Okay.
That one sounds pretty intense, right?
Yeah.
And then there's the Certified Fire Inspector.
Yeah.
And each one focuses on a different part of the field.
Mm-hmm.
So you can kind of specialize in the areas that really light your fire, so to speak.
I see what you did there. That's clever. So you're saying, you could become the expert, say, in fire suppression systems for, high rises?
Exactly.
Or maybe, I don't know, investigating what caused a fire in, a factory or something?
Yeah, you could even specialize in things like wildfires or how to design safer escape routes in buildings.
That's pretty cool. It really is you get to choose your own adventure, but instead of fighting the fire,
Oh, yeah.
you're outsmarting it.
You're outsmarting it, exactly. And, while you're studying,
Yeah,
what about some practical experience? Because you're not going to learn everything from a textbook.
that's true. Yeah, you got to get your hands dirty a little bit.
Right, exactly. So RoleCatcher recommends trying to get internships or co-op placements
Yeah.
with fire departments, engineering firms, even government agencies.
Oh, wow. Okay. So in that way, you're kind of getting that real world look at what the job actually entails.
Exactly. Think of it like a test drive before you buy the car.
Ooh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You get to see if it's a good fit for you. You get to put that knowledge that you're learning into practice, and you get to see firsthand what this career is all about.
And hopefully make some good connections while you're at it too.
Absolutely. Networking is huge in any field.
Right.
And speaking of testing the waters, RoleCatcher has a whole section about interview prep.
Oh, yeah, that's important.
Because, you've aced the education part, you've been honing your skills.
Right.
Now it's time to show those future employers what you're made of.
Yeah, you got to seal the deal.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And RoleCatcher really emphasizes showcasing your passion
Oh, yeah, that's huge.
for fire safety.
For sure.
They really want to see that enthusiasm.
Okay, so how do you do that in an interview?
Well, this is where those real-world experiences we were talking about, this is where they really shine.
Yeah.
Be ready to talk about specific projects you worked on,
Okay.
challenges you faced, how you solved those problems.
Right.
Because it's not about just, spitting out technical terms.
Right.
It's about sharing those stories
Right.
that show what you're capable of.
Right. Like demonstrating your passion.
Exactly.
Okay. That makes sense. So it's like less talk, more action, kind of.
Yeah, in a way. Show them. Don't just tell them. And here's a pro tip from RoleCatcher. Before the interview, do your research on the company.
Right.
Be prepared.
And the specific job you're going for.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Because that way you can really tailor your answers.
Right, so it's relevant to them.
Exactly. Make them see how your skills
Yeah.
and your experience
Right.
fit what they need.
Okay, so you've got your foot in the door, you aced the interview,
You got the job.
you're in. Now what? What does career progression actually look like in this field?
Well, that's what we're going to talk about when we
Okay.
come back.
So you got the job, you're in. Now what? What does career progression actually look like in this field?
Well, RoleCatcher, they lay out a pretty cool path. Like, as you get more experience, you might become a junior engineer.
Okay.
You get more responsibility then. Maybe you're doing, like, fire hazard analyses.
For all different kinds of buildings, like
Mhm.
hospitals, stadiums, you name it.
Oh, wow. That's pretty cool.
So you're thinking about all the different risks in those places
Yeah, very different.
and figuring out how to keep them safe.
Wow,
Talk about next level problem solving.
totally. It's like you're leveling up, but instead of points, it's like safety knowledge.
Right, exactly. And once you've kind of, mastered that junior engineer level,
Yeah.
RoleCatcher talks about, you can really start to specialize.
Oh, okay. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so you could become like the fire suppression systems expert.
Okay.
You're all about those sprinklers. Maybe you're designing those fancy gas-based systems that protect like computers and stuff.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Or maybe fire dynamics is more your thing and you're like the fire modeling guru using software to like predict how a fire is going to spread.
Oh, wow. So you're not just like a jack of all trades. You're like the go-to person
Is a guru.
for that one thing.
Exactly. And then that can open up some really cool doors.
Oh, okay. Like what?
Well, RoleCatcher even talks about maybe you go into research and development.
Oh, cool.
You could be on the cutting edge, like literally inventing new stuff,
Wow.
new fire-resistant materials, or like the next generation of fire alarms. How cool would that be?
That's amazing. Yeah. You're like designing the future of
Yeah.
fire safety.
Pretty cool.
That's so cool. Okay, but before we get too ahead of ourselves, RoleCatcher also talks about building a portfolio.
Yes.
So what is that exactly? Is it like a scrapbook of all your projects?
Think of it more like your highlight reel. It's how you show those future employers
Yeah.
that you're not all talk, right? You can
Yeah.
back it up.
Right.
So put in all your big projects. Maybe it's a fire safety plan you made.
Okay.
Maybe it's a fire risk assessment you did.
Okay.
Just show them what you did, the problems you solved, how you made a difference.
Yeah, I get it. So strong portfolio. Got to be hungry to keep learning.
Yes, always be learning,
And obviously passionate about safety.
for sure.
That seems to be like the recipe for success here.
It really is. And, one more thing RoleCatcher mentions that's really important is networking.
Oh, yeah. That's huge in any field.
It really is. And in this one, go to those conferences,
Okay.
join some online groups, maybe even reach out to some of those experienced engineers for advice.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea.
Pick their brains, see how they got to where they are.
Yeah, and then you get to like learn from the best.
Exactly. Always be learning.
I love that. So it sounds like this is a field that's all about like collaboration
Very much so.
and sharing knowledge.
Absolutely.
That's cool.
And RoleCatcher's right. Things are always changing in this field.
Yeah, but
New technology, new rules.
Right.
So you always got to be ready to learn something new.
it's like you got to have that fire in your belly.
I love that.
Not just for safety,
Right.
but for like always growing, always getting better.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so for our listeners out there who are like super fired up about this career path,
Love it.
what's the one thing you want them to take away from this deep dive?
This isn't just a job. It's like a calling.
Oh, I like that.
It's about using your brain, that love of science and engineering
Yeah.
to really make a difference.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's not always easy,
Huh.
but the rewards are huge.
Yeah, I bet. That's so cool.
It is.
Well said. And who knows, maybe someone listening right now will be designing the fire safety tech of the future.
Wouldn't that be cool?
That's awesome. All right, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.